Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. All right, guys, so we're going into the next segment, the last segment we got here, tough decisions for Week 15, the semifinal week. We've picked out 3 players that we think that you might be in a sticky situation with, that maybe you've been leaning on, maybe you've been waiting for them to kind of show out, and you just don't know what to do this week. I think the perfect candidate for this spot right here is none other than the guy that single-handedly got me into 4 semifinal matchups, Mr. J.Winston, quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this comes from a spot of endearment because I love Jameis, but I also know that he lost Mike Evans this week, and I also know that he has a hairline fracture in his throwing hand. So my question is he worth the risk, or is there a guy that you could stream over him? And I know that I face this situation, and I also know that Scott faces this situation. So, Scotty, is there anybody here from this list that we have that you would consider putting in over Jameis, or are you just going to roll with him because he's your guy?
You know, I have been, I've been searching this so much the past 48 hours because I'm having a really tough time making this decision. That being said, I'll add another guy to your list just because of my current situation. I have Jared Goff on the same team as Winston. Right. So, you know, the names we have on here, I mean, Tannehill against Houston, that's really tough because Tannehill's looked great and that Houston defense has looked terrible. Mayfield, I'm going to say tight with Tannehill. Mayfield, I want no part of personally. I'm kind of over the Cleveland Browns. I don't trust them. Ryan, I also would not start Ryan over Winston. Minshew, I'm going Winston. I love Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings, but I'm also still going Winston. Really? I'm going Winston over our entire list. And I'm going to tell you why.
Baby.
Why am I going Winston when he has a broken finger and he just lost his number 1 wide receiver? I am doing it because of how he played in the second half of last week's game. He was injured then as well. Mike Evans was out at that point too. But the reality is he is a gunslinger. He has the Brett Favre mentality. He does not care that he threw his 21st interception of the season. Rest in peace, Buccaneers playoff hopes, ever. But it's the game script.
Don't say ever.
Don't say ever. Don't do it.
But from a fantasy perspective, you have to love it. The game script is always for that of a fantasy owner. He's always throwing the ball. No matter what, he could throw 4 interceptions, and he's going to try to throw 7 touchdowns. I just don't see many quarterbacks out there where you actually get the chance of that game script. Like I said, Jared Goff, I'm literally facing the decision of starting the 2 this week, and it's neck and neck because of health. No more Mike Evans. But the reality is I'm leaning of going with a slightly broken Winston. I've also heard he has a knee injury, which I'm also trying to read up on. But right now I'm saying Winston over the whole group because the game script will probably be pass heavy. He's taking on the Detroit Lions, who are just an atrocious defense. And with a matchup that way, I will feel ridiculous if I sit him for a guy like Goff. Goff has the type of season he has, which is, you know, either at 2 points or topping at 20 points, where Winston tops at 45 points. That's what I'm saying. There's very few quarterbacks out there that give you the opportunity to legitimately win your week, even if they lose the game, like Winston. So he got me to tied for first in the current Dynasty League that I'm in my semifinal matchup in, and I will be rolling with him in the trenches, and I don't think he's going to let me down.
Okay, so we know where Scotty stands. I'm going to consult, as I go through this list again, I'm going to consult Landon and Mark. So give me your opinion. Are you going to say, yes, I would pivot and I would stream X over Winston, or no, I'm going to stick with Winston? And if we all agree on this, then we'll just kind of keep rolling, and if not, we'll go back and discuss. Ryan Tannehill against Houston. Houston is the 6th worst defense against the fantasy quarterback. Are you taking Tannehill against Houston, or are you sticking with Jameis?
Yes, I'm taking Tannehill. Marky?
Me too. Yeah, I think I'm
Yeah.
taking Tannehill as well, even though I am a diehard Buccaneers fan and I like the juiciness of both matchups. I just feel like Tannehill has really come into form. That offense is playing for meaning, and I think really Tannehill just has better field vision than Winston. So yeah, I agree with Landon, but I don't dislike Goff. I'm saying if this came down to it, Tannehill, then Winston, then Goff.
Okay. I'm also going Tannehill. This is the guy that I picked up in 2 leagues, and I am happily, maybe not happily, but I am pivoting against better judgment. For me, I have Chris Godwin in most of these leagues as well, and I've been stacking with Winston the whole year, and it's been amazing. It's paid off tenfold of what I thought it would. But now I'm thinking in a playoff week, semifinal week with that stack, if Winston has a down week, then I also experience that most likely with Godwin. So it's kind of like trying to be risk adverse and diversifying. If I can get a similar game out of Tannehill, even if Jameis plays well, but offset potential losses if he doesn't, that would be better for me. So I just think for me personally, I'm going Tannehill. In another league, I face the potential of going Mayfield or Winston. Are you guys okay with that?
That's a tough one for me. I understand the upside against Arizona's defense. We haven't seen the upside yet from Mayfield, but just like we saw from Jared Goff, nothing gets you right as a quarterback than going against those Cardinals. So
That's true.
I would. I'd go Winston over Mayfield. I'm not super thrilled with Mayfield.
Maybe the whole narrative ultimately is that Bruce Arians has Winston on like 3 fantasy teams, and he's just saying, "Huck it, get that ball into your end zone, and shut up, and do it again on the next drive."
Right. This is where I draw the line. Like I'm just very torn on the Mayfield versus Winston, so I'm gonna have to let the week mature to see where I go with that. Yes or no, Matt Ryan against San Francisco?
No, I'm not into that.
No, sir.
Minshew against Oakland?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
I don't think so either. Cousins against the Chargers?
I would probably. Oh man.
I think he just has less upside.
I guess so. Yeah. No, I guess not.
Yeah.
He's been good sneakily, but no, I guess not.
Manning against the Dolphins?
Nope.
Yeah, that's a no for me as well. And Goff against Dallas. As tempting as Goff is, I don't want it either.
No. Before we move on from Jameis, let's talk about the players affected by Jameis. I think O.J. Howard gets the biggest bump. I think Rashad Perriman is streamable in some leagues. Depends how deep they are. And Justin Watson presents upside based on his measurables. If you look it up on a website like playerprofiler.com, you see his 40 times and his agility scores and his speed scores. They are through the roof. He's a very fast, agile guy. He's been waiting for this opportunity to get onto the field with Mike Evans gone. I think he's a nice little stash in some deeper leagues, dynasty leagues, if he's still available. But yeah, we should move on. So I'm going to go to a guy of contention. I have him in a couple leagues. I know Mackenzie has him in a couple leagues, and that is Odell Beckham Jr. So he plays Arizona this week. On paper, we think this is a great matchup. We talked about Mayfield earlier. So let's talk about Odell. We just found out last week that he has a sports hernia, and he looks a little bit unmotivated. Apparently, he's been going up to his opponents in a few matchups, saying, "Come get me to Jimmy Garoppolo," and wants kind of out of Cleveland. It's been back and forth through the media that he is happy, he's fine, he loves Jarvis Landry, his best friend, but there's mixed emotions. Like, he's not in huddles, he's not talking to Mayfield. But then we see clips of him blocking downfield with Nick Chubb running and blocking when maybe some other receivers don't. So if you've managed to make it through the playoffs with Odell on your team and you're in the semifinals, I'm going to ask you 3 if you're willing to start Odell. And we have some really tough options.
That is me in 2 leagues. So
Yeah.
I've made it this far with Odell.
And you still have him. So there you go.
Yes.
You're fortunate that you do. The 2 leagues I had him in, I am out in both. So it's funny. I could have started Anthony Miller and been better than him. I could have started. Who else did I have? Well, obviously AJ Brown. But anyways, let's keep on moving. So, okay, I'll go through it. Odell or Dede Westbrook versus Oakland. What do you guys got?
I would stick with Odell. The game script is just too good.
If it's if we're talking Jags, then I do think I will still roll out the gold watch OBJ and see if he can just string together enough catches to make it worth my while.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually flip and go Westbrook on this one.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
What about AJ Brown? He's been hot and cold, but he has those boom games. He's a man amongst boys out there as a rookie.
Against one of the
start him
softest secondaries, I
the
would
softest
definitely, yes.
secondary, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys
Definite start on Houston. I think definitely AJ Brown.
going AJ. What about Zach Pascal facing New Orleans? A tough defense.
No.
Odell.
Yeah, I'm not willing to roll him out against that Saints secondary, no matter how many points they gave up last week.
What about Cole Beasley against Pittsburgh?
No. No.
You know what? I've been saying it for weeks on the waiver wire pickup show, and I'm just going to plant my flag now. Yeah, watch. Cole Beasley's going to have a better week this upcoming week than OBJ.
Oh, can I have a bet on
now.
that right now? Can I have a bet on that right this second?
You know what? Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go. Absolutely.
Marky, what are you set on this one?
Ooh,
It's gross.
Beasley.
Do you have the Beazles?
You just can't. You
No,
just can't
I
do
don't
it.
know. You can't.
No, okay.
Nothing against Pittsburgh defense.
Okay.
If
So
you're
I'd
this
be
far with
interested
Odell,
to
you got to
see
roll
if
with
you
them.
lined up Cole Beasley and OBJ week by week this season.
Oh.
I bet you Cole Beasley has dominated him.
No.
I think you're right. Fantasy points wise, I think you're right. But
Yeah, I know the name is sexy, but I think if you just look at who got more points, I think if you were flexing Cole Beasley over OBJ all season, you're in better shape. Much better shape.
All right, keep it moving.
all right.
Ha!
Larry Fitzgerald in the same matchup. Who would you start?
Odell.
Yeah,
Odell.
I think I'd go Odell as well. I have no faith in that Arizona offense right now. They're a mess.
Deontay Johnson had a big week last week. They play Buffalo.
If Juju comes back and James Washington comes back, I don't like the narrative for Deontay. His upside is capped, so I'm going to go Odell.
I think I'll go OBJ on that one.
Let's go Deontay and hope for like a big punt return.
There you go. Nelson Aguilar against Washington with probably Alshon Jeffrey out or Odell.
Man, this is so interesting because we've seen what Aguilar can do in the absence of his teammates, and he gets targets, he catches the rock, and he comes out of nowhere. So I still think I'm going Odell, but it's definitely interesting because Alshon will be out, and they'll be relying on Ertz and Goddard to carry the load. So I think Aguilar gets a huge bump, especially over J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I'd go Aguilar over him, but as a potential fill-in, but not over Odell.
All right, and I think we all agree that we would start Metcalf over Odell this week.
Yep.
Yep.
Beautiful.
All right, we shall move on. Marky, you're still with us here? You want to talk about James Conner?
Yeah, of course. So James Conner is not someone that I have owned at all this season, but when he's on the field, he does make an impact, and that's a team who has desperately leaned on having him healthy. But unfortunately, he hasn't been able to do that in this latter half of the season. So James Conner is coming back for his first full game since week 8. He had a couple snaps in week 11, but they were pretty meaningless. And then actually he was putting up fairly solid, consistent numbers aside from one down game against San Francisco. So what are your thoughts on James Conner? How do you feel like like he's going to perform. Is he going to come back and have that same impact that he was having before his injury?
Yeah, so he's been practicing in full the whole week, as has Juju Smith-Schuster. The way that I look at this is that Pittsburgh's secondary backs, backup running backs have come in and basically done nothing. Like Jalen Samuels has been very poor. Benny Snell has done nothing with his opportunity. And so I think that coming back by default, they're going to need him to be very, very active. I bet you he's a lock for at least 20 carries, or maybe not carries, but touches for sure, both rushing and receiving. I think he's a lock for a pretty big workload coming back. So I think opportunity alone, I am very, very interested in starting James Conner. So I probably will be doing so. And if Buffalo is to be beaten anywhere, it's on the ground. Their secondary is quite good with shutdown corner Tre'Davious White, but they can be ran on. We've seen that so far this year. So I'm very excited if James Conner is ready to go.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to actually agree with Mac on that point. The thing is, there's always two ways to look at it, that the O-line and the offense is so out of sync that his replacements have not been able to be remotely fantasy relevant, or that he is that talented that he will have zero competition when he comes back. And I'm going to go with the latter. I agree with Mac. I think if he's fully healthy and ready to go, then it could be a big week for him where they really lean on Connor.
And my 2 cents before Mark puts us through these, who would we rather, is that Pittsburgh's still in it. They're still trying to make the playoffs here, despite rolling out Duck Hodges from week to week. So, I mean, if they were out of it, Connor definitely wouldn't be coming back against Buffalo. It's not a great matchup. So, yeah, I mean, when we talked about this segment, I was off the James Conner train. I did not want to start him. So, but you guys are starting to convince me here. So let's get moving on this James Conner action.
Okay, so we got a couple guys here listed that we're gonna see how they stack up versus old James Conner here. What would you do between James Conner and Raheem Mostert of 49ers?
Holy.
I have this in one league, and I currently have Raheem Mostert in my lineup. Man, going up against the Atlanta Falcons, like, what a game script, and Raheem Mostert has just been on fire. So, as Landon has coined a couple times this year, he is a must-start, Mr. Raheem Mostert. Hey. Yeah.
I'm going to go Connors. I think...
Hey, look at that.
I'm going to go against that. I think the 49ers, there's no rhyme or reason why Mostert is getting all these carries. I think they might be saving...
He's talented and good?
They have a ton of talent back there. I still think Coleman is talented. He just has been getting nothing. Coleman could be doing all this stuff that Mostert's doing. I don't know. Maybe they're saving for the playoffs. I think watch the playoffs.
The dude just straight up lost his job.
We don't know why.
I know. It's crazy. I'm going Mostert. You're going Connor.
Okay.
Mark, split the tie here.
Ooh, I think it's for sure Raheem Mostert for me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Keep it rolling.
Would you play James Conner or Kenyon Drake?
Connor.
Moving on. Would you play James Conner or DeAndre Washington?
Oh boy.
And that's assuming that Jacobs is out.
Josh Jacobs is out.
Assuming Josh Jacobs is out.
Yeah, I still think I go Connor. I mean, we saw Washington have a fairly decent game last week, kind of saved by a touchdown. Wasn't overly productive on the ground, but did get into the end zone. I think I'm going with the volume. I think James Conner's definitely going to get the work.
I'll buy into your narrative. I'm still on the Connor train. You guys have convinced me.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. Never Connor over Jacobs, though, as a side note. So, how about James Conner over David Montgomery?
Yes, I would go Connor.
Yep, same Connor.
Really?
Yes.
So, Green Bay is allowing quite a bit of rush yards against them, and I think David Montgomery is certainly made a case for a great rookie running back, tough to take down, plays with grit. Yet you still want to go the Connor route on this one.
I do. I think Green Bay is. I think Mike Pettin, defensive coordinator for the Packers, is smart enough to force Mitch Trubisky to throw on them and beat them with his arm. I think Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery are going to be limited in this game because that's going to be the focus, and I just don't see it working out for those guys.
I'm kind of hoping it's a little bit.
Montgomery.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's a shootout. And are they playing in Green Bay this weekend? Yes, they are. Ooh. So I'm actually playing. I'm playing. Yeah, I'm hoping it's like a Tariq Cohen kind of game here.
So you're gonna go Connor.
I'm going Connor. Yeah.
Okay, Connor or Singletary.
See, this is where I still like Singletary.
That's tough. Yeah, I'm probably going Singletary as well.
He's got the workload. He's been awesome. He's been explosive. I made the error this offseason to pick a guy like Justice Hill over Singletary. You guys were right.
Might be one of the biggest movers for this year versus next year.
For me, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and how about LaShawn McCoy?
Connor.
Yeah, Connor, I think as well.
Ditto. And finally, this young up-and-comer, Adrian Peterson.
The tape on this guy is limited, but from what I've seen out of him, no, I'm kidding. Darius Geis out of the lineup now.
He's gonna get a ton of work.
A ton of work ahead of him. Geez, man, this one's close. I don't want to put my stock into Adrian Peterson. I don't want to put my fantasy hopes into him. Geez. I'm gonna go James Conner.
I'm going to go Connor as well. I think AP could have 20 carries for 80 yards.
200 yards? I agree. I'm going Peterson here.
All right. The workload. I get it. It could be a larger split than we think. Jalen Samuel could be involved. Benny Snell, even though he's been very bad, he's not hurt. He could spell Connor more than we would like. But we're hoping. I like Mac's narrative, and we're going to be answering a ton of these questions 1 hour before kickoff. We are going to be live in studio with Mackenzie. Hopefully Scotty will be around. Marky, you're going to have to be on the YouTube channel or on Sleeper answering questions, because we will be all lit up with Mackenzie in real life.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at SMS_fantasy. Support this independent podcast at patreon.com/Saturday Morning